All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Today is Sunday of our week 4. So we're going to be continuing from where we stopped yesterday. We are, building our project. So I believe I shared the code. I've deployed the final code to the GitHub, the backend and the front end. So I've shared the link. Maybe some of you must have not gotten it, but we'll just continue. Then maybe after the class you can just get the final code, look at it, and just anywhere you miss you can look, have a refresh. Then if you have any question you can reach out to me and ask. I'll be available to answer any question that we have. All right, so that's being said, um, I will share my screen now, then we'll start uh, with our program for today. Um, all right, please give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. I've started sharing. All right. So let's have a recap. Let's have a recap of what we did yesterday. So yesterday I told us how we're going to structure our projects. I told us that we're going to have modules, because modules is basically where our business logic is going to reside. We're going to create different module folders for the different features we have. Then basically, since we are building a blog application, a blog application, yeah, the backend, we're going to have we have posts, comments, user um, entities for the blog. So basically we're going to create modules for these items. Okay, so which we did yesterday. So we started with the user module. Okay, so if you can see my screen, this is where we stopped yesterday. So I'm going to continue, and so where I'm going to continue now is that since we are about integrating our database into the project right now, so I feel it's proper we do something on database. So our database is MySQL database, which I asked us to download at the beginning of this course. So I believe we all have it. We have MySQL server downloaded, and we also, I believe, we should have the workbench downloaded. So if you have it, please spin it up. We need to come here now. This is the database, my own database, the workbench, right? So I have this. There are two components of the database that you downloaded. There are the MySQL server and the MySQL workbench, right? MySQL server and also the MySQL CLI, right? So there are three components. Let me say the MySQL server, the MySQL CLI, then the MySQL workbench, right? So the server is the main database. The MySQL server is the main database. The MySQL workbench, which is this, is just the graphical user interface that we use to interact with the MySQL server, right? Why the CLI is the one we use in the command line. I'm not going to. I'll just show us a brief about the CLI, but almost everything we're going to be doing we're going to be doing it with the workbench for convenience sake. All right. So let me open a terminal here. All right. So let me demonstrate the MySQL CLI. So anything, since I've installed it, so it's already in my system. I'll be able to use it in my terminal, right? So what the command to log in, right? Because if you want to interact with your database, you need to log in to your database, right? You need it's because it's a protected system, so you don't just access database like that. So you need to be authenticated. All right, so you need user name and password. Okay, so to log into the MySQL now there are, when you download your database, when you install it in your system, the MySQL system, it creates a user automatically. It comes with a user account, and the user account is called root. All right, root access. So that root access, that's where you start to do anything. Okay, you can use from that root access, you can create other users. All right, with that other users, you'll be able to access the database. And when you are creating other users, which we are going to see the demonstration, when you create other users, you give them privileges are like permissions on what to do on that database. If you create a user and you grant the user the access to only the permission to only read data from the database, that's what they are going to do. They will only be able to read data. They won't be able to update or insert, put data into your database, right? So that's basically about users. So you create users with different permissions to do to carry out on the database. Okay, so let me just give us an example here. So I um, okay, type MySQL. If we do hash hyphen version, we're going to see the version of our server, right? Okay, so if I want to log in, I will do hyphen user. As I want to log in, hyphen user means the user account I want to use. I will use root. If I do this hyphen host, this hyphen means local host. Like, I showed us yesterday. If I go back to our project, I showed us that to connect to database, these are the entities, the things that you need. You need the host, you need user, you need password, and you need the name of the database that you want to connect to, right? So but on the CLI here, we'll just use the host, user, and password to do that. Now, why I use localhost here is because I want to connect to my server that is inside my local machine, right? I want to connect to the MySQL server that is inside my local machine. But in your case here, when you start building an application, maybe you're working for your company and they deploy their database somewhere, maybe on AWS, like in my one of my job, we deploy our database to AWS. So when we want to connect, we don't use localhost for h, this hyphen h here. I don't use localhost. I use the IP address of the server, something like this. Sorry. All right, you give it the IP address, then you connect, right? So here I'm going to use localhost, then hyphen p, because hyphen p means password, right? I will click enter. It will ask me for password. Then I think I use what was that password, right? Now I am inside my, if you can see my prompt, the command prompt has changed to MySQL, right? So I'm inside my local MySQL database server right now. So if I do show database, I want to see all the databases that are inside, right? So these are all the databases that are inside is my MySQL database server in my system. So this same thing here, this same thing I did here, I can actually do it in MySQL Workbench, right? If I just to connect to your server, just click come to this place. You see MySQL connections. Just click the plus sign, right? If you click the plus sign, you'll see the name. You can just give it a connection name, give it any name. Then the IP, you can just leave everything as it is. Then the root can be, just leave it as it is. Then the password, I'll put the password here, right, for the user I want to have access with. Then when I'm done,
So please, I have a question.
all right,
Eh, I remember one time when you were creating your server, you used the port. You used 5,000. So
yeah.
if the port was 5,000, there is the port here supposed to be 5,000 too? Because I'm seeing 3306 for the port.
Okay, yes, that's a very good question. Yes, this is the database ports for MySQL. Is the default port for MySQL is 3000, 3306. That's 3306. So you can't use 5000 here, because if you use 5000 here and your app, you want to start your application to run on port 5000, it will clash. It won't start because the port is already in use. So one thing about port on systems, on computer systems, is that ports are associated with network and network communication. So a particular system must a particular program must use just one particular port. So um, if a port is in use and you want to start another program or another application that uses that same port, that second application that wants to start on that port will not start, right? Because it can't communicate on that port because the port is already in use by another system. So that's this thing here. So you need to specify the port that is not in use, and default when you want to make MySQL connections, the default everywhere worldwide is 3306. So we can't use 5000. So it's only our application that will start at port 5000, right? Even when you run your front end application, like if I'm running yesterday that I demonstrated our project, the front end was running at port 3000, while the back end was running at port 5000, right? So they were able to communicate with themselves. So
So,
did
sir,
yeah.
my question now is, if for the port now, so increasing your port, like maybe putting it at 5,000, or like what is the effect? How does it affect your project?
Okay, it doesn't. It's not a something of size. It's just communication channel. It's just a portal. When you say portal, communication channel, where if you want to communicate with this program, you call it on that port, you send message to that port, then the program will access it. We take the message you're
Okay,
sending. You understand? It's
okay,
not
sir.
whether
Thank
it's 5000 or 1000. No, it's not a matter of magnitude. It's matter of channel communication. If that port is open for communication to come in, you understand,
Okay.
right?
So meaning the figures doesn't really matter.
No, 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 no. It's just the number, like communication channel. Let me say
All
your
right.
house address, right? All the programs that are inside this inside my laptop, they have their house address, their home address. Let's say the laptop is the whole, like the building. All right. So if you want to communicate with MySQL Workbench, you come to MySQL server, you go to port 3306 and you communicate with it there. That's where it will listen to you, the ports.
Okay. 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 Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So as you can see, I got this message: successfully made the MySQL connections. It means that I am able to connect to MySQL. If I do this, okay, no, let me leave it this way. Okay, I'm able to. If I change this ports here, I don't. It won't work. If I change it to 3309, because the server is not communicating on this port. If I text, let me test now. You see, it will. I fail to connect to MySQL at it's this port. There's nothing there. So if I change it back to 3306 and do that again, you see, it's connected. To connect. So just as a backend developer, as a backend developer, I read about networking. All right, just briefly read about networking, IP address, and ports, and the rest. Okay, because they are very very important in your understanding. And also read about operating systems. Read about operating systems. Read about virtual machines and the rest. Okay, first there's a course I'm going to recommend to us. I'm currently going at like taking the course. It's a two-part course. It's on Coursera. I will share the information with us. It's just for you to understand how computer programming works and the rest. Okay, so guys, let's continue. So we've connected to our database, right? So if I come here, these are the database. All these things here we saw here are the things that are listed here. You see these informations here. If I move this to the side here, yeah, you see this database information you see here. They are all here, right? So the only ones that are there are some that when you download your database server, they don't create the database, right? They come by default. Like this first one here, information schema. MySQL is also, it comes by default. This one too, performance schema, comes by default. This SYS also come by default. Yeah, so guys, that's that. Let's start querying our database, right? So first thing first, when you get access to a database this way, you need to create a user, right? Like I told you, when you download your database server, you don't they give you only a root user to access your database, but to when you want to connect from your application, you need to create
Um,
a new user.
I'm Christian, sorry. I was trying to connect my own database. I created
Okay.
one just like what you did, and it's not working. So I did a screenshot on WhatsApp. It's
Okay,
not connecting.
let's see on WhatsApp. Okay, the password, do you remember the password you use when you're setting up the database?
Yeah, I use exact same password and it's not working.
What message are you getting?
Um, so if I enter it, for instance, I'm typing it now,
Yeah.
then it will sort of like when I click OK, it will clear the password input and then show me the same thing that you're seeing again.
Okay, check
So
that save password in keychains. Check it. Then type the password
okay,
again. But I can see you already make connections. Like I can see local host, local instance.
yeah,
Three.
but it's not letting me
Okay. When
access
you
it.
double click it, it pops up. All right. Put the
Yeah,
password
then when I
and check that save password in keychain. Then click OK. Let's see what you get.
I've done that, it will clear the password field to look like what you're seeing in the screen, and then
Again.
there will be nothing. Yes, should I create a new one
Mm,
on a different port or
no, no, not different port. Don't use different ports. Because basically
okay? Because I
we are trying to connect to your server, right? Okay, go to your CLI. I want to confirm that you actually connect, your password is correct. Go to your terminal, right? Do this thing that I
okay,
did. Let me exit.
okay.
So do this thing here. Type this. Can you see my screen, right? Type this command.
Yeah, but like I said, my
MySQL
SQL
hyphen u.
root
Yeah.
host. You want me to do local host, so I should do
Localhost.
one two
No,
seven.
localhost. Do localhost.
Okay, okay, local host. Okay, okay. Then I should type in my password there.
Yes, put in your password.
Okay.
What did you get?
Um, command not found for my SQL.
Hold on. We need to confirm that. Hold on. Hold on. Let me come back.
I thought I did all the installation, or is there something I'm actually missing out that I did not install?
Okay, this is the command I talked about. So, what did you get? Can you screenshot and share in the WhatsApp? Let me see. We need to
Yes,
check
I've done that.
if your port is if your server is up also.
Okay.
Mm. Do MySQL hyphen version dash version. It's like it's not in your terminal. How did you install it?
I installed that was like Workbench and the other one that you said we should install. So, but it's not saying not found. So I'm not wondering, is it that I don't?
You know there are I shared a video, right? There are basically
Yes,
three components that you need to install. If you install just the workbench, it won't work. You need the server, right?
that's my SQL server.
Yeah, my SQL server is different from workbench. They are not the same thing. So if you don't have the server, you can't. There's nothing for you to work on.
think I
right?
have this server.
So
Let me
do
confirm.
this since uh,
So,
hello.
so I thought the server and the workbench comes together.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, but it depends on how you are installing it. Did you check? You need to check, like, when you are installing.
Okay, okay, yeah,
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 you
yeah.
need to
I
select
understand now.
the items you want
That
to.
those commands, yes.
Not even yeah, when you are like, if you are installing it, right, the install prompt.
Okay.
There's place that you will see plus something, plus you click it and it will expand. Then you click, then you add arrow. That's why I
Yes.
shared the video to us.
It will
That
bring a drawdown.
yes, yes. Then you click and add. So those things you need to. There is the server there. There's the workbench there. So try. Can you try and uninstall, then try to install it again? So make sure you choose that option. I can get that video for you to go through quickly. Or
Okay.
when you are installing, just let me know. I can help you to, um,
Okay.
so that you'll be able to install the server.
All right. No problem.
Okay, if you can just do it as we continue, no problem. So
Okay.
let's look at commands now for MySQL. Right. So let's create a user. We want to create a user, like, let me create um, node underscore user. Right. I want to create. Let me see if I can bring this thing here. Can you guys see what I'm typing in in my screen? Because I feel it's small.
I can see it clearly.
Okay, okay. All right. So let's create a user, and this user will give it privilege to do whatever it likes, right? But when you are building, real world applications, you need to know how you want to the kind of access you want to give the user, and it's that user you will give to the app. You will put inside your application to use to connect to your database, right? So it's basically you are creating a user for your application so that your application can access your database. So you want those privileges, those things you want your applications to be able to do on your database. That's the privilege you give to that user. All right. So let's create to create a user. We'll type this, and mind you, MySQL commands is case insensitive. What I mean is that create, for example, create and capital create are the same thing. All right. It won't penalize you for using any of them. Okay. So, but don't mix your letters like this. For example, okay, it can still work. Yeah. So, but I prefer following either small letters or capital letters. All right. So let's do that. Create, and also to comment. Comment in MySQL, you use double dash with space. Then everything that follows will be comment, to be regarded as comment. But if you want line multi-line comments, just do the usual forward slash and star here, this way. So everything in between inside it will be seen as comments, right? Inline comments, multi-line comments. So let's continue. So I want to create a user, create user, right? And the name of the user, I want to call it node user. Then at, okay, put it inside the quotes, single quotes, then at, then I'll put localhost here. I will explain this. Okay, identified by, this is password. We want to give it password. Then we'll put the password, close with semicolon. Let me give it the password. I'll call it password one. Right. So this is the query to create a user. Right. So what I'm doing is that I said I want to create this user. Right. Create user, the name of the user, at, you can say I put localhost here. Now what this means is that um, this user will be able to connect to this server only from within the where the server is hosted, right? Okay, let me give as an example now. If I take this my database and I host it on AWS cloud server, for example, right? I host it there, right? And I want to create this user. If I use localhost, if I use localhost and here, if I put localhost here and I put password here, what it means is that if I want to access that AWS, the database that is deployed on AWS, that same database, if I want to access it from my laptop, like from my local laptop, I want to access that AWS database, right? I won't be able to use this user to access it. You know why? You know why? Because I said localhost here when I was creating the user. It means that this user can only be used, like if I log into AWS server, if I log into AWS server, I can only access the MySQL server that's inside that AWS server. I can only access it using this user I created here. All right. So for me to be able to use this user to access this database anywhere the database is hosted, I will put something like this. Yeah, I'll put this dollar sign. What this means is that okay, this user will be able to access this database anywhere the database is hosted, right? Now if I can put IP address here. Now if I put this IP address here, now what it means is that this user, yeah, this user will only be able to access this my database anywhere I host it, right? If I host it on the cloud server, this user I will be able to access it, right? Where if the machine of, like, if the application I'm accessing this, I'm accessing the database from, if that machine has this IP address, it means that the database will only allow this user to access it if the user has IP address of this value. You may not understand when until when you start like live practical deploying database to the server, right? You may not get it clearly now. All right, basically just that's just the only thing that what this is saying is that this user will be able to access this database if its IP address is this. Not this is not the IP address of the database itself. This is the IP address of this user, any system this user is accessing from. All right. So, but for simplicity's sake, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to remove and put this, so we don't have any problem. But if I put localhost, since we are just demonstrating everything on my laptop on my local system here, if I put localhost, it will work. We can do our experiments. All right, but let me just use this ampersand, this dollars percentage sign here. All right, so that is done. So if I click to run your query, you can either use this will run. If you click this icon here, it will execute any query. If you put any query here, it will execute every query on the system, on like any query it sees on this file, right? If you click this button, it will execute everything it sees on this file. But if you want to use this button, it means you will just select one particular you select one particular you highlight one particular query, then you click it, it will execute. So if you look down here, this is the action response. So it's successful. You can see green here. If it's not successful, you see red. You can see green check here, so it means the user has been created. So if I come to this place, if I come here, so if I come to this place, this administration, as you can see, this is schemas means all the database in the system, right? But if you come here, schemas, it gives you some management options here. So if I come here, users and privileges, if I click here, if I refresh, if I refresh, I'm supposed to see the node user I created. All right, privileges. Okay, let's give the user a privilege, some privilege. But before that, let's since I've created a user, let me create a database, so that we can attach this. You can grant this user I created privileges on the database, right? So let's do that. Let's create a database. Create database. Simple query. You can just do node blog, right? So this is simple. The query to create a database. Let me comment out this. So if I click this now, as you can see, database has been created, right? So we have created database, right? We created the user, we created database. So let's grant some privileges of some privileges of the user on this database, right? And to do that, you can just use this command grant all. Let me grant all privileges. There are different privileges that I will explain, that different privileges you can grant on the user here. So now I want to grant. I'll do node blog here dot asterisk to node user at percentage sign. So let me explain this here. So I am granting all privileges on this user, on this table, right? This table I created. I mean this database I created. Sorry, on all table. What's this? We know database contain tables. MySQL is a relational database system. So relational databases, all their data are stored in tables, right? When you want to start storing your data on relational database, you create tables for them, then you start your data inside the tables. Now, since my every database schema contains table, when we are granting we want to grant privileges to of this user, like we want to tell the user, you want to give the user permissions on what it can do on that database. So we need to select. We have the options of selecting the table that we want, the tables we want this user to be able to operate on, right? So here I'm saying that, okay, this user will be able to perform these privileges on all the table on this database. So if I create any table on this database, this user will be able to perform anything on that table. You can be able to put in insert data, update data, read data, delete data, right? So that's basically what this thing means. This dot asterisk here means all table of this database, right? And this is the user here we created here. So right, so all privileges. Now privileges are different parts. We have, if I do select, if I put select here, so what I'm saying is that I just want only this user to be able to select, just be able to select data from this database, from all the table from this database. If I remove this asterisk now and put users, for example, right, what I'm saying is that this node user that I created will be able to only select data from the user table of this database. Nothing again. It can't be able to do anything on any other table apart from just user, right? You can only select data, like read data, like to be able to see data inside this user table of this database. All right, so that's what's the privilege I'm trying to grant to it here. But I'm going to change this all back to privileges. Now remove this, I'll put asterisk here, then I'll leave it. So if I run my query as it is now, right, it's successful. So privilege, it has been granted. All right, so we have created user. So here we can log in as this user. Here we can log in now. Let me see if I can. All right, let me create a new connection. Now here, if I say local node user. All right, local node user. If I remove this one, this root here, if I remove the root and do node, okay, no, I need to restart this system. I don't think this will connect because I need to restart the system. So if I put the password, let's see if it connects. Okay, it's connected successfully. See, I am now logged. I can log in with node user. All right, not as root again. So if I do okay, you can see it here. This is it. This is the connection. So I have logged
Excuse
in.
me, sir.
Yeah.
So in a situation whereby you forget the password to this MySQL workbench, what is the remedy? Is there any alternative?
Since it's I believe it's the root user, you forgot the password, right?
Yes, yes.
We you need to reinstall everything. I believe it's a fresh database. um you need to reinstall the system, uninstall, make sure you uninstall everything, like uninstall everything, then reinstall it. That's the way forward, because you need that root password, you need the root access. From there you'll be able to create any, I think you know your root password. If you log in as root, you can change password of any other user that you can log in as.
Okay.
So that's the
Okay.
issue there. Okay, is it your password that you didn't get properly?
No, I didn't forget, man. I was just asking, like in
Okay,
in,
yeah,
in a
that's,
situation whereby someone forgets.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's rare. It's rare for like when you start connecting, like the database we have on our system is, since we already have the credentials somewhere. It's rare for, if you forget, you can just log into the system, the server, cloud server where you have the database. You can just log in there, access the database as root user, then change the password of any user you want to change. All
Okay.
right. So okay. So guys, we've created user. We've logged in as that user. We've created our database. If I do show databases here now, databases, if I click it, these are the database, right? So these are the database I can see. This is the database I created, node blob, right? So let's go ahead, let's start some demonstration. So if I let me see. Okay, so we created, so to use, as you can see, this is the database, right? Database that is, we assign privilege to our node user. We assign privilege to node user um, on node blog database. So if I do, wait, let me comment this. Guys, let me copy out this and put here. So let's continue. So to use a database, like if you want all your queries to be run on that particular database, use database, right? When you do this use database, it only executes on this database that you need, that you connect to it. So it always executes any query that you want to do there. All right. So let's just do some experiments. I want to create a table. You do something like create table school, right? I want to create a table. I want to create a table on this database. So if I click this now, so getting the error. Node blog. Sorry. is our, oh sorry. So to create a table, right, we will provide some the columns that are going to be in that table, right? So that's what I forgot. I don't know what I was thinking. So to create a table, you need to provide columns of that table, and in providing columns or that you're going to do, the columns that the tables are going to the columns are going to be in the table. You're going to specify the type of data that each column is going to hold, right? Is it going to be string or numbers, or dates, or data formats? All right, so you need to specify that information when you want to create your table. Okay, so I've written create table school. This is the name of the table I want to create. Then I put I open parentheses here, parentheses. I can come down here and start giving it um, what are the column names. I can start with ID, right? ID is like the ID of any information I'm going to any data I'm going to store in this table, right? Say what's the data type? I will say int, right? I can say it should be the primary key. Yeah, let me use small data here, right? Int means number, right? Then primary means that it should be unique. Like if you create a table in MySQL, one of the columns, you must make one of the columns the primary key column, right? What it means is that every data that column is going to hold must be unique. Let me just show you guys, if we can go to this Canva and just draw something quickly. I wish I have iPad I can just be using to sketch. I need to get it. Yes. So sorry guys, let me quickly explain table, the structure of the tables and the rest. Oh, okay, let me query the ones we already have. Let me open a new. So if I do select, sorry guys, let me get this information quickly. What's the name? Test blog. Let me run it here. The schemas. Okay, my blog. My blog dot post. Is it posts? Sorry guys, I want to show us the okay posts. All right, this is it. Guys, can you see? Can you all see? Can you all see the table here? So if you look here, this is column ID, this is column title, this is column content, this is column user ID, this is column created ads, and column updated ads, right? Please give me thumbs up if you can see my screen. Let me know I'm not disconnected. Give me thumbs up. Let me know I'm not disconnected. All right, good, good, good. Okay, we need to hurry up today because of time. So these are the columns of this post table on my blog database, right? Now this key here, when I was creating it, this is, I made this the primary key, right? Why this is not, I mean, this column is the primary key, why this one is normal column, so, and the rest. So this, the data type here is number, right? Why this one, the data type here is varchar. I'm going to show us varchar. Varchar is typed var, or you can call it text. There's varchar, there is text type, right? Now this one is varchar, this one is text. Why this one is int, int, right? Why this one is timestamp or date time, date time, because it holds dates and time. All right, the same thing to this one too, hold is their type is date time, right? So this is primary key. This id, column id, is primary key. What it means is that no other, as you can see, this one is number 1, 2, 3, 4. No other record, when I say record, I mean any horizontal row here, no other horizontal row or record we have a repeated id. Like no other one we have number 1 as id in this place. If you want to, if you are imputing any, if you are inserting data into the database that of, and you are repeating the, you want to repeat the primary key, the database will throw error, duplicates primary key to throw error to not insert that data. So the primary key must be unique. The data coming in must be unique. It must be a data that has not been, has not been in that, in the table, right, in that particular table. So just like when you want to sign up in some website, when you want to sign up, if you put your, if you sign up the first time, good, they will work, you get signed up, you'll be able to log in. But maybe if you mistakenly, maybe later you didn't know that you've signed in with that email, and you try to register with that same email, it will tell you duplicate, that the email has already been used. So basically what they're doing is that they use the email as primary key, in their record. So they identify every account with email, right? So you can use email, you can use email as primary key. You can use IDs as primary key. It doesn't, it's based on design, how you want to design it, right? So that is about primary keys. So there are a lot of other keys, but let's continue. I need to, okay, let's come back here. So right, let's continue. I'm creating table school in this block database. So let's continue. Primary key, put keyword here. Then I'm going to put something here, auto increment. Now pay attention, guys. You see this this primary key means it is the primary key, right? Right, this is the data type, this is primary key, to tell the MySQL server that this, I want to make this column the primary key. Now this auto increment, what it means is that this id here, this, the value, any value that's going to be like if I'm storing this data inside this table, the id will be generated by the server itself, will be generated by MySQL itself, all right, and it will be incremented on auto, like by itself, right? If we come back to this place, this here, this thing here, now I did the same thing when I created this table, this post table, right? The id is auto incremented. So if I want to put data into this table, I don't need to specify the id. I just put data for title, content, user id, and the rest. I'll leave id. The MySQL will generate the id by itself, and it will increment automatically. All right, if you check here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If I try to insert another one now, the next id will be 5, right? So that's what this keyword here means, auto increment. I want this id column to increment itself, right? So I'm done with this column. Let's go to the next column. I will just say name. Name will be type of varchar, yes, like I told us. Now varchar takes a number like this. So what it means is that if I am if I want to put data inside the column name, right, the character of that data, of that text, will not exceed 50, right? It will not exceed 50. If I try to put 100 characters, it will throw error because I just allocated 50 character length to it, right? So that's what this means. Then if I go to the next one, I can just do um okay, can just do, let me change this to student because this is what is right. So let me use, right, now this age value here is number, right, but it's not primary key. I'm not making it primary key, I'm not making it auto increment, it's just a um number system, right? Okay, so right, if I click on if I run this code, see the table has been created. So if we come to node block, this is the table, the character, block, the database. If I expand here, we'll see student table, this table I just created, right? So it's just here. If I open it, it's just, these are the columns: id, name, age, right? So we haven't inserted any data into it, so that's why there's no row here, right? So let's go ahead, let's insert data into it and see what we'll get. Right, okay, so let's comment out this, right? So let's do insert into students. I'm going to explain this command: name, age, values, John Doe, age 18, right? So guys, this is how you put data inside your table. You insert data into your table, right? You say insert into students, right? Now this is the name of the table. Now you open bracket, you open parentheses, you put the names of the columns, like when we created for age, name and age, right? So we specify the column name, the columns names. If you see here, we didn't add id, right? We didn't add id because MySQL server will take care of it. Because of this auto increment keyword we use here, MySQL server will take care of it, right? So we don't need to create id for it. But when you start building your own system, there are sometimes you will not use this auto increment. All right, so you just use primary key. You just use a primary key, and then you just make sure that the id is the primary key of the table. Then you can use other means to insert, to generate ids and insert into your system, into the table, right? Into the table, right? So let me continue from here. So with that now, if I click this now, it will enter. So what if I want to enter multiple, I want to insert multiple data, I will just put comma here and put another parenthesis here. So now if you look very well, this is name. You put data corresponding to the column that you want to insert the data into. So like I'll put John Doe inside name, then 18 will be inside age, right? So if I do Rita, Mike here, and I do 43 here, right? So if I click now, guys, pay attention. See here, I put this word here, use node underscore blog, right? If I didn't use something like this, I don't do something like this, if I run this query, it's going to throw error, right? It's going to throw error because it says it doesn't know where this database, because if you check, there could be, many number of database on this, many number of, this is called, actually called data schema, database schema, right? This is called database schema. The whole system server is this database, why this is actually called the schema, right? So there are many schemas, there could be many schemas here, and each of those schemas may have students table. So you need to tell MySQL server which of the database, or which of the schema that you want to insert, you are making reference to for the table. All right. So if I didn't use this keyword, this thing here, I put up here, right? This use node block. This use node block is telling MySQL server that it's you are, any communication we want to run now is going to be on node block, schema, database schema, right? So, but if I didn't use it, what I would need to do here to make MySQL run the code is I will come here and do node -block dot student, right? The name of the database and the name of the table dot name of the table. So if I do this now without this use keyword, it's going to work. You see, it shows green, right? The same thing applies when we want to select. Let's fetch all the data here now. To fetch data, you do select star from node _block dot students, right? So what this means is that select means read, like read data information. Asterisk here means read all the columns, because this is where you specify the column. If I remove this asterisk here, I will put name of the columns and age. Even the I can put ID here, right? If I specify all these columns here, the columns of the table, it means to bring them to fetch those columns when it's returning data, right? From node _block dot students. Okay, if I do this now, yeah, this is the information here. It fetches the data that's on the system, right? But if I put asterisk instead, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to return the same data information. It brought back the same thing because I selected all the columns here. So this is how we select from the database. We read from the database. So we have done insert to create, that is to insert data into the system. We've done read. So what if we want to read John Doe, or I want to fetch John Doe? So what I will do here, I will come here, I will say use this word where, right? Where. So this where means we want to target the column, right? We want to target the column. So I want to fetch based on the column. Now if I do where ID is equal to 2, right? Which record has ID 2? Is this Rita Mike, right? So I say it should fetch all the columns of the node table, from the node table where ID is equal to 1, right? Where ID is equal to 2. If I click it now, you see it brings only where the ID is equal to 2, right? Okay, so but if I do, I don't even need to put it. I should do put, because it's number, right? It will still work, right? So if I do where ID is greater than 1, for example, it still fetch this second one where ID is greater than 1. But if I say where ID is greater than 0, 1 is greater than 0, 2 is greater than 0, so basically it's going to fetch the 2 out for me, right? So this where clause is important. Notice where I place it, right? Notice where I place it after the name of the table, then where, then you put the condition. Then I can still do where age. I still do where age is greater than 20. Whose age is greater than 20 is this Rita Mike. So if I click, so you're going to fetch Rita Mike for me. You're going to fetch Rita Mike, right? So that's basically that. Let's see how we can update, right? Okay, let's change the age of John Doe. So if I So let's update to update record. What we did here to create, did here create. Here we did read. Now here we want to do update. Basically, we are just performing CRUD operation. CRUD. So update students. Let me use node dot students. I want to update students. Set age equal to 19, where ID is equal to 1. So guys, pay attention. This is how we update systems. We update records, right? I use the keyword update to start. Update, then the name of the table or the name of the database dot the table. Then set is the actual update you want to make. Set, then the actual update. So I want to increase the age to 19. I want to set the age to 19. You can just do to 30, right? Then I want to also change the name to John.
Hi, Christian.
Yeah.
Please, when exactly are we going to get the video for today's class?
I will post everything. I haven't posted the one of yesterday, so I will upload
Mm.
everything today. Hopefully, when I'm done, I'll just start uploading it. Then, if
All
after
right,
the
thank you.
class, yeah. So I want to update the age to 30, the name to John Vindo, where ID is equal to 1. So which record has ID equal to 1? It is John Doe, right? So let me first show you guys again. Okay, so it's John Doe that has ID equal to 1, right? As you can see. So I want to update it to I want to update the age to 30, the name to John Vindo, right? So if I run the query now, if I run the query, it has executed. So let me select it. Let me show us so that we'll see it again. See the updates. So if I run this select again, you will now see the age ID1. The age is now 30 and the name is now John Vindo, right? So this is how we update. Now there's something I need to tell you. If you want to update, you need to be very careful on this where clause. You need to be very careful. If you don't specify where here, if you don't specify where, it's and you run this query, it is going to execute for all the records. So what it means is that it's going to set for all the records. It's going to set this update. Like it will come to John Doe and set 30, age 30, and name John Doe. To come to second column, set the name to John Doe and the age to 30. So it's going to overwrite all the record and put the main update. But if I want to execute it here now, my workbench will not allow me. It's going to throw error because there's a setting on the workbench that says that you need to, when you want to update it, the safe mode condition is on, so you can't update record without the where condition, right? The where clause, right? But in your code when you write SQL queries, that setting will not be there. So if you put your query in your SQL and in your application, yeah, if you put and you want to update without the where clause, maybe you forgot or something, it means for any update it's going to override the update on your system. So we need to be very careful when we are writing our code within our application, right? So let's see the next thing we need to discuss. Delete. Delete is almost the same thing. So to delete, you just use the keyword same thing. Delete from node dot students, right? Where even delete, if you don't specify delete, where clause delete will not work. MySQL will not, the workbench will not allow you to do that, right? So let me show us the data that we have already. So if I run this select query again, so we have two records. So if I delete, let's delete id2. Delete. So if I delete, it's successful. So if I run the query, if I select, let's see our updates, if it's reflected. If I run now, you see the one with id2 has been deleted, right? So let's insert some other data. Let me do let's put another data. So if I run my query, they are inserted already. So if we fetch, okay, these are all the data. So now let's now when you are, there's something called pagination, right? Like when you have millions of data or hundreds of thousands of data in your database, and your application wants to fetch those data. Fetching those data will be time consuming, right? It will be very, very time consuming for your application to fetch those data from your DB. It will be very time consuming. So what we normally do when we want to optimize systems, is that systems that fetch data, large volume of data, is that we paginate them. Like we tell the query, we tell it, okay, fetch the first 20, right? Fetch the first 20 first. Then if the user wants to go to the next page, they want to see the next items, you can fetch the next 20 again to the next 20 following that first 20. Then when you want to see the next other data again, you just continue like that, you get to the next 20. So it's called pagination it's called pagination when you building your application. So your front end, we want you to, when you are creating endpoints to fetch information from a database, if the data is large, so you need to paginate that endpoint, right? To be fetching probably first 20, first 50, right? And so on and so forth. So to do that here, we're going to use a keyword called skip and limit. Okay, so if I do, here we have five data in this database. So if I select, if I do limit 2 here, if I select just limit 2, so it fetch only 2 here, right? Only first 2. So limit 2 means just bring me only 2, right? If I do limit 1, it will fetch me only 1 from the record, right? So if I do skip 1, limit 1, let me see. All right. Let me see why that's not coming up for me. Okay, let me do limit 3. Let's see. Trans 3. So select create users. Sorry guys, let me check this. All right. So like now, let's do some. There's a kind of keyword that we can use. Um, let's say I want to do some search on this data records now, and I want to search for something like I want you to bring anything that has J or C for me, right? If I do something like this, there's a keyword called where name. Instead of doing where name equal John, right? Instead of doing something like this, you can actually use keyword like this, like, right? Now what this will do is that then it puts percentage sign. What this does is that it filters the system, your records. It filters your records and gets the records that begins with J, for example. Right, let me run this query and see. Okay, so here it returns John Vindo because the name starts with J. Right, if I do for C here, it returns this. So you can use this like keyword to filter out some of the what's it called, some records from your system. It's usually for search, like when you are if you are using some systems and you try to search some information. This is the kind of logic on the SQL that they use to search for those information, right? If I remove the, see, it's because I'm looking for, okay, if I do, okay, now it brings out because it's like it shows like, because I omitted the record, the part of the record, so it truncated the item for me, and it didn't, because I just used one of the keywords. It just search for Christian, and anyone that doesn't have that has more than Christian, it leaves it. So basically guys, this is the query here, the thing here. So we're going to go back to our code. When we go back to our code, our project, so from here now we'll start creating our repositories. I'll start creating our services. Let me use services here. So let's see here. So we're going to create SQL query for create user, for get user, and get user by ID, get user by email. So we're going to write the queries for this, so that when we create, after creating them, we can be able to use them in our controllers, and also create for authentications too, right? So let's start. Now to create a user, we will need okay, let's populate our database first. That's the main thing. So which database are we going to use for this project? We're going to use Node, right? Let's use this Node block, this Node application, this Node schema, sorry. So to do that, we need to update. I created the user node user. I created node user, and and I granted privileges to operate on the node underscore blog. So let's connect. Let's update our connections credentials. So it's going to be okay. Node user, sorry. Then node underscore blog, right? Now the name, right? So let's create our database for our tables. Sorry, our tables for the user that we're going to connect for post. Just our tables for post, comments, user post, comments. I think basically that's it. Yeah. Let's create their tables. Okay. All right. So if I clear up all this now, let me see. Okay, let me come here. Use node blog. So I'm telling it I want to run my queries in this database. So if I do this, let's create our user table. So ID will be int, primary key, and auto increment. Email will be varchar, then just let's use 255 for email. Not null, like not null and unique. Now look at these keywords I use here. Not null. What I mean is that anytime I want to create a user, the email value must be there, because some columns are optional. Like there are some table that if you are putting data into it, some columns are not too they are not important. You can just create your record without putting any data in that particular table, right? So they are not those columns are not too important to fill. It's only if the data is available you insert data into them, right? So but for if you are creating our user, the email is compulsory. It's compulsory. That's why I use not null. So any user that we want to create without the email information, we are not the query will not go through. It will fail, right? Now if you see this keyword unique means that it is unique for that row, like for that table. Like no two user will have the same email. So if you are creating a user, if you are inserting information data into the user table, and the email that is coming in is already there, someone has already used it, that query will fail. That's basically what this unique does. It makes sure that all the data in the email column are unique. So use then go ahead to include var is the name is, we'll give name 255. Like okay, 255 character, this 255 means 255 characters, right? Same thing here to 255 characters. Sorry guys, I don't know why I'm stuttering. Now bio. Now we just we want user can be able to put information about themselves here. Then we use text. Now text, if you see here, text also holds string, just like varchar data type. It holds string, but we are not specifying the character because it can hold a number of characters. There's a default value for it, like I think 6 something thousand of character that it can hold, right? Default value. So we don't specify the character here. Then password do varchar for password. They'll put 255, and it must not be null also. Like it must create password. Then we'll do created at. So timestamp, we are using timestamp value. Now when we are inserting a user, this table, this created at column, we want MySQL server to put the information for us, right? So we can just do default current timestamp. Okay guys, pay attention here. So I said this column created that the timestamp is the data type is timestamp. Now if you see, I put default and current underscore timestamp. What this means is that the MySQL server should create this, to insert data for us for this column on default, and it should use, like, it should be creating it for us. We don't want to be creating it by ourselves, right? So it should be using the default value of current timestamp. So the current time of that operation, it should use that timestamp and populate this column for us. Then if we go to the next one, updated that, this thing also, the data type is timestamp. Now the default, the same thing, wants MySQL server to populate the data for us, the record for us, but we need to do something extra. So what this updated that, what we want to do in this updated that is that anytime probably the user updates their bio or updates their name or updates their password, this updated that we record that particular time, that any user makes changes to their account, to their user profile, right? This created that does not change after the first creation, right? After the first data, after it has been created, it doesn't change afterwards. But this updated that we change it to keep record of changes that are made to the system. And how do we do that? This default current timestamp only takes effect when the data is first inserted, but on subsequent updates on the record, on that particular record, we need to put this on updates. Now on updates, the same thing, current timestamp, right? We just use this keyword on updates, current timestamp, right? Then when we do this, we are done. So if I click, if I run this query now, see, it's done, created. So if I come here, if I refresh, you see this user table has been created. So let me delete this student table here. Now to delete a table, you drop it. The keyword is drop. Just a drop table, then the table name. If I click, it's done, it's successful. So if you check here now, you can't see the table, right? So it's deleted. So let's create for post. Create table post, and let's specify the columns. ID first thing, same thing, int primary key auto increment. Then title varchar of 255. Contents is text type text, right? User ID. Now there's something we're going to, you notice something here. We are mentioning user ID. I'm going to show something. That should be type int, not nor also. Created at our usual. Let me copy these ones out. Just want to put them here. Same thing. Now guys, pay attention. I'm going to do something now. Foreign key, user ID, references, user, right? And on delete, cascade, on update, cascade. Right guys, pay attention, let me explain this, right? So if you see here, I put extra items here. I said foreign key user ID. This is this user ID column here, user ID. references user, and what's this user here is this table I created, user, right? I'm referencing this table user here, and in parentheses you see ID. That's the ID of this user here. Now you see what I'm trying to say is that I'm saying that this post table, right, any record that is coming in, right, must have user ID attached to any post record that is coming. That this user ID must not be empty for any post that is coming in, right? Now I'm now saying that, okay, the value of this user ID must be a value that is already in the user table, in this user table, and the ID column of the value of ID, right? So for example, if we have users ID 123, right, any post that is coming in here must be in that ID, in that user ID 123, right? So if we are inserting a post and the user ID is like 100, for example, and we don't have a user ID 100 here in the user table, the query to insert the query will fail. To insert the post record will fail. So basically what we are doing is that we are trying to attach every post to a user. We are trying to attach every post to a user using the user ID on the users table, right? This is what we call relational relationship in database in MySQL. Relation in MySQL, sorry, I say relationship. This is what we call relation in MySQL, right? And there are kinds of relations in MySQL. We have one-to-one relation, we have one-to-many relation, we have many-to-one relation, and we have many-to-many relation, right? I don't know if time will permit us. I would have loved to explain further, but just bear in mind that
Yes, we love those explanations. They are very important.
okay, all right. So one-to-one relation is something like um, user I posts, like this thing here now is one-to-one relation, right? This is one-to-one relation. Like every post must have just one user. Every post must have just one user, and every just one user. One post cannot have like two users. Like I cannot, if I try to create um okay, no, this is not one to one, because many users can have many posts. One user can have many posts, so this is basically one to many, right? One user, many posts. Let me do it this way, sorry. One user can have many posts, right? So this is one to many. All right, one user, like user A can have post user ID 1 can the post it can have post of ID 3. Like if we start inserting posts, for example, the like if I go to let's check, let's see. Okay, right, so yeah, look at it here. So this is post table, this is post table. If you see here, this is user ID column, this is the post ID columns, right? So this user ID, we have user ID 777. So user of ID 7 has 3 posts, right? So the user can have multiple a user can have multiple posts, so it's one to many. Now why it is not many to many is that a single post cannot, we can't have like this post, like this post of ID 1. If you have another record of post ID 1 with all this detail, but this user ID is, instead of 7, it's let's say 9, right, or 8. So it means it will be many to many, but it will make sense that this is not the relationship, right? Many to many is modeled differently. So just bear in mind that this and user relationship is many to one. And why is it many to one? Is one user, many posts. So it means a user can create as many number of posts as they like. So one user can create many posts. All right. And if you turn it around like many to one, it's still the same relationship. Many posts, one user. Right? Still the same relationship. Now, one to one relationship is something like if we are creating a let's say a passport system. Let's use the BVN, Nigerian system BVN, right? BVN. Now if we are building a system to model the BVN, the database now will be that one user, one NIN, right? One user, one NIN. So if we create a table for users, I will give them ID, name, and everything. Then we'll create another table for NIN, right? One NIN, ID, NIN, the number of the NIN, the ID, and everything. The user it is attached to, you will see it there. You will see in the NIN table, you will see user ID column, just like we have in this post, in this user ID in post. You will see user ID, you see the number. But one thing you will notice you're going to be make sure of that is that for the NIN table, we're not going to see different user ID. Like you see user ID user ID 7, then you see user ID 7 again. You're not going to see that. If you see it, you mean that it's an error. So it's no longer a one-to-one relationship. So one-to-one relationship is unique. Like it means that if since user ID is already on an NIN, the user IDs cannot repeat themselves. You can't have another NIN with a different user with the same user ID, just like we are having here. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you have you have users and their IDs. You have the NINs and their IDs. Then in the NIN column for user ID, because you want to link the user to the NIN, you in that user ID column of the NIN, you must not have a repeated ID, user ID, right? So that's how you set up your one-to-one relationship. So the many to one relationship, right? If you have, let's say you have students, example now, students and courses in a school. When you go to in the school settings, you have courses and you have students. Students will come and sign up, register, and there are courses for them to apply into, to get into. So many to many relationship is that a student can enroll in many courses as they are required to, right? Many courses, and a particular course will get many students to enroll into it. I don't know if you're making sense. Like it's just like a student can be enrolled into as many courses as they like. Then a particular course can have many students enrolled into them. So if you want to keep track of what students is enrolled in what students is enrolled in what course, and what how many number of students does a course contain, we have to create another table to manage enrollment. You can create a table and just call it student enrollment or student course enrollment, right? So what that table will contain is that you create you put a column that you call it student ID, for example, student underscore ID. Then you put another column course underscore ID. So the student underscore ID column will reference the student table, right? Then the course underscore ID will reference the course table, because you have separate course table, you have user students table separately, right? The course table we have the course ID and the course title and the lecturer that's in charge, while the students table will have the student ID, the student's name and their age and everything. So you have them separately, but you now create a middle table, right? This is many to many relationship I'm explaining. You now create a middle table that will contain the enrollment of the students into the courses and the number of courses and the number of students the courses are having, right? So in that middle table, you put user ID column, right? That user ID, student ID column. That student ID column will reference the students table, right? The ID on the student table. While the course, you put another column, course ID, course underscore ID that will reference the course table ID. Then when you are inserting enrollment, when a student A enroll to course A, you put it there, student ID A, then course ID A. That same student again can that same student A student ID A can also enroll in course B. You put it student A course B, right? Now another student B can also enroll in course A. You put it there, so all the records will just be there. That's called many to many, right? It's just two ways, many to many relationship. I don't know if I would have loved to use diagram to explain this thing very properly so that you guys will understand. But using my mouse to draw on this thing was very hectic. Very hectic. So let me just continue. Maybe when time comes, you guys will understand this thing very well. But maybe even me myself, when I started programming, I didn't understand this relationship. Honestly speaking, so it was very, very, very. So let's continue with creation of. Hold on. Okay. So guys, this foreign key is, you guys understand it very well, right? Basically, foreign key is just creating constraints. Constraints is like rules on the system, on the MySQL database. So time is fast spent. So let me create the post. If I click it, right? So our post table is created on our database. So let's go ahead. Let's create the other ones. Okay, there's something called index. All right. So if we are index is a way of to optimize your database query, right? To optimize query because it's connecting querying your database from your application is something very, 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 like, you need to be, it's very technical. You need to be very careful with it because if your database takes too long to respond to your system, it will cause problem. It's just like you now trying to access Facebook, and you log into Facebook, and when you go there, you just see the thing spinning. It's not loading in your information and everything you want to see. It will make the user experience not enjoyable. Okay, so that's basically everything on we are going to be, like, you're going to be working on when you are building systems like that. You need to optimize your query so that data will not take too long for your application to load. All right, so one of the key things you do is indexing your system, right? Indexing your data, your tables. And what does it mean? If in your system you always query, if you plan to, like, always query your table by a particular column, right? Let's say, for example, now you always want to be fetching users based on their email, right? Like when a user is logging in, and when a user is trying to log in, and they submit their email, you must want to check, query the users table to check for that email, right? So because the email, you always use email to query the table, the users table, you need to index the column, the email column of the users table. What index means is that you will put it, you will create a separate index. Like, index is kind of special table, but you will, any information, any user that is being inserted into the table, into the users table, all right, that index that you've created will take that email that is coming, the email, it will just take the email apart, aside all the data that is coming in, the users data that are coming in, to just take the email, then go to that index and sort it, put it in alphabetical order, right? So any email that starts with A will come on top. Any email that starts with B will come below that A, right? Anyone that comes, any email that starts with C, they will put it under. So that index will be, indexing that email, the email information, to be arranging it on that index. So what's the effect of that is that as it is arranging it like that, it is taking record of, like, if there is, if the email that starts with A is the person that came last, maybe all the other emails that start with other letters, they have already, they've registered on the system, but the person that has email that start with A came last, right? They will be on the last column of the record of your table. But if, let's say, the number position, the number that they are on that your users table, it will be recorded on the index. So as the index is arranging the emails alphabetically, it is also putting the number, like email. If the email that starts with A, it will take the number that it sees in your table, in your users table, and attach it together. So you have the email and the number that the position it is in your table, right? So since it is the last email, it may be the 100th email, so it will put it first and put 100 by the side, right? So when somebody with that email comes in now to check, so okay, I'm trying to log in, and your application is trying to check your users table to see if that email that starts with A is in that system. Instead of going to the table to check, to start from beginning, to start checking, going down, it will take time now because it's the last email. Instead of doing that, it will the query your the server, database server will go to the index, because that column you are searching by email, that it will go to the index and check this email that starts with A. Where is it stored, which row number? Then if it goes to that index and sees, okay, it's row number 100, to just go to the users table, look for row number 100, pick all the information and return to the application. So I don't know if you understand this thing. So indexing is part of the techniques to optimize your query, right? I wish I was able to draw this thing. I was able to draw this thing, honestly. That made a lot of sense to Okay, so let's see. Oh my god. Okay now. Hello guys. Okay, let's say the email. This is the email that starts with A. This one starts with B, C. This is your index, for example. Now this is your users table. This is their ID. Now ID 1 maybe is the one that comes the C, the email that starts with C came first. Probably the ones that start with B came second, and maybe let's say this one that starts with H came third. Then this email that starts with A, it could be I'm using A, B. I'm just letting you know the alphabetical arrangement. The emails will be full emails, right? Like my email, chrischimeze@24@gmail.com. It could be this email, just full emails. Then this on the index now, this is 1 2 3 4, right? Then this is the index. So index A now, the position is what? 4. Index B, the position is what? 2. Index C, the position is what? Image C, the position is 1. Then H is 3, right? So if this user wants to log in, right, if you do not index this table, this index here is the index of this table. So if you do not index this table, right, when your application is trying to query this table by email, using email, like query search where email is equal to so and so, right? It means that it's going to check, because it's going to check starting from the beginning and check sequentially downward. So it will check here, this is not the email, check here, this is not the email, check here, this is not the email, check here, this is the email, right? Now imagine a table with hundreds of thousands, millions of records. So it means it will just be checking till it gets to where it will see that record, and then after seeing it, it will return the information. But if it does not see it, it will return empty object, right? Now that will take time. But if it is an indexed, if it's a record that is indexed, right, everything is arranged alphabetically. Then since since this is A, the letter starts with A, it will just come, okay, check A, A, this is A, and this is the email. It will just see the email immediately. Then it will read the position, what row number is 4. It will just come here and pick the email, and return to the server, right? So that is indexing. That is indexing, right? Yeah, I can draw, but it's taking a lot of effort. I wish I just use iPad. All right, so guys, let's continue, please. Time is fast spent. I don't know how we're going to do this. I want us to complete all these things before. All right, let's create the index now for post, and we'll be creating the index. Now we can create it for 2 columns, right? You can create it for, like, I mentioned using email. You can use email. You can also use email and any other column, right? So let's create post index for our post. I will call it. This is how you create it. You write in create index, then you give it a name. Let's say post underscore user underscore id underscore created at. Now I just gave it this name, and the reason why I gave it this name this way is that I want to create it on post user id. I'm creating it on post user id and created at. Okay, pay attention, guys. This name, you can name it anything. Create index. I'm creating index. You can give it any name on. So what am I creating? What do I want to index? I want to index post table. And which of the columns in post table? I want to index user ID. The post table has what? User ID. Yes, it has it. And it created that column, right? Also this has it. If I just want to create it for one of the columns, I'll just remove it here, right? So but I want to do it for multiple, for 2. I'll just put command add it here, right? If I want to add another column, so what it means is that if there are 2 user IDs, yeah, in our relationship here, users can create multiple. A user can create multiple posts, all right? So if a user has multiple posts, right, like it's searching for a user at the index, and it sees this user, on this index there are many users. Now it will now sort it will have to sort the index by this next column, which is the created at column. It's just like sorting with 2 ranges. If you see 2 the same post with the same user ID, you sort with this next criteria. So basically that's just what it means. So if I create it, it's created now. You can see it's run successfully. So let's create the table for column. We've created users, we created a post. Let's create columns. All right, create table. Comments. Sorry, I said column. Create table comment ID.
Copy of all these queries. Like, where do we get them? The
It's
query.
in the backend code I uploaded. I'll show you guys. It's there.
All right, thank you very much.
So what you do is just go there. You just copy it and paste in your SQL this way. Just paste everything and click run. It will just execute all these things. Will just create them for you automatically. Right. All right. Primary key. I want it to be primary key. So if you see now, the positions are interchange. Like it doesn't matter how you put it, but the first thing is that you must state the data type, which is int, right? Then the auto increment primary key can take their position, but primary key must, primary and key must stay in the same position. So post id, every comment must be associated with a post. So there won't be any post without, there won't be any comment without a post. And every comment must also be associated with a user, because it's a comment is a user that's making a comment. Then the content of the post, you see here, I put text here and still text, so it doesn't MySQL will just do it for me. It won't complain. So the same created ads and updated ads, I'll copy them here. Okay, now let's create relationship here. Let's create a relationship. So we'll do foreign key post id references. So what do we want to reference? There is this post id here. We want to relate it to our post, right? Post id, the id of a post, right? Okay, now there is something I need to mention again. Now I'm going to do something here. See, on delete. Okay, I forgot to explain it here. On delete cascade on update. Now what this means is that, so what I'm saying is that, okay, since I am relating this column post id to post table of column id, so basically what I'm saying is that a column is related, a comment is related to a post, right, using the ids, right? So here you see this, basically this comment now is a child table. This comment table is a child table to post table, and also the comment table is a child table to users table, right? Because we are referencing a column on post table and users table. We are referencing those columns on this comments table, right? So the two now are parents to this comments table, right? So what's this what on delete cascade and on update cascade means is that if I try to delete a post here on this line now, if I delete a post, what will happen to the comments that are associated with that post? Like, you know that in a normal blog you have posts, then you have comments that are, made under that post. What will be the relation if I delete a post? What will happen, right? What will happen to the comments? So this on delete cascade means if you delete the post, the comment will be deleted. Like cascade, let that effect cascade to the comments. So if you delete a post, it should cascade down to the comments and delete the comments too, all right, inside that post. All right, now this on updates cascade also the same thing. Since we are referencing the id, post id, of a post, the id of column of a post, if we change, let's say a particular comment has post id of 5, for example, if we change that on the post table, we change that id to from 5 to, let's say, 5a, for example, maybe we are making updates from 5 to 5a, what will happen to the comment that is referencing 5 already instead of 5a? So it means that on cascade means that that 5 that is that comment that is referencing 5 should also update from 5a, from 5 to 5a. So that's basically what cascade means, right? Guys, is anybody trying to get my attention? I heard something. Oh my god, I can't believe I'll be explaining MySQL to you this time. All right, so let's get to the let's foreign key, user ID, user, and I'll just copy these ones. Guys, if you want to call my attention, just speak up. I can't see anything on the screen now. So this is done. If I click create, so if we check here, it is created.
Sorry, sir, your mic is muted, sir.
Really? Oh, sorry. All right. Okay, so I've created the comments table, so we are good now. We can go back to our code. So let's create. Let's go ahead and create our users. So um, now we have to create two items. We need to create entities and DTOs. Now entities are the models, like entity models how the data type of your database, right? The data type of your database. Why the DTO models the kind of request you want to how the request, what you want to be receiving, the type of data you want to be receiving from request when the front end is sending data to your system. The way the data is structured is called DTO, data transfer object. It's called DTO, right? You define information, you use that DTO to validate, to sanitize, to validate the data that is coming in. Why entity actually models the data, how data, like all this, the data format we created. ID is int, post ID is int number, user ID also is number, text is string. So entity is going to model that on our system, and when we do that, you are going to see how we're going to use it on our system. Okay, and basically everything is because of TypeScript. All right, if it is normal Node.js, we won't be using it because we won't be doing entity and DTO because it doesn't. JavaScript doesn't deal with types. All right, so it doesn't deal with typing. So here let's create our entity first. User entity .ts. Right, this is how we call it, user entity.ts. So here I will do this. No, but I'll do export interface. You guys remember interface, right? ID is number. Interface usually when you want to define types for objects, right? Use it to define string. Name is string. Email is string. Password is string, but it's optional. Let us know why they are optional. Bio is also optional and it's still string. Then created at is date of this type, updated at is date type, right? So guys, I don't like to use in my Node.js TypeScript codings, I don't like to use snake case. I like using something like this. I would have preferred this thing to be like this created that to be like this. So but it is already like this in our database, like created that is snake case, right? So what I would like to do, this is my choice. So because this is what I did in my project. I will create something called, I'll come here, I'll create a folder where I'll just be putting some, I'll create a folder, I'll call it common. Common is where I'll put anything, many things that I need to share within the modules, right? Then I'll create um, folder also inside comments. I'll call it constant. It's just a folder where I'll just be putting things. Then I'll create it inside constant. I'll create variables .tx. Then inside here, I'll come here and do something like export const case casted. This thing doesn't it doesn't relate with whatever we are like. It's not the business logic. It's just design preference. So all the items that I want to type case cast, let me just put everything here. Author, I would like to do for author, but we haven't got to that yet, to author. So this is the first one we've met. So I want to do this updated ads. Then I'll do updated underscore ads here. Post ID. So with this, I will be able to do something like this. Hope this thing is here. Oh no, it's not there. Okay, it's there. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Is then if I import it, I will now do something like this. I will come here and do this. Yes, I'll do it this way, and this one, same thing. I'll do this way. So doing it this way, it's still actually basically this is still, it is still like this. It is still like this. Updated created art. This is basically what is there, but as you can see, this is what we call the bracket notation in Objective, like we discussed when we are introducing JavaScript and TypeScript to us. It's object notation here. So I've created the entity for user. Let me create a DTO, right? And I will now show us how we are going to use them on our system. Okay, so if I come to here, create user.dto.ts. So if I do export, it's going to be a class. Create user DTO, name image string, password. I can actually use interface for this, but I decided to use class because when we are creating this, when we are if we want to import everything out to Next.js, our details are going to be in class too. So I decided to just use class so that we can get familiar with it. Okay, so if there's for updates, update user DTO. So basically what this means is that if the front end is sending data to us to create a user, they must send name, email and password to us, right? It must be included and it will be string. If they send name as number, application will reject it. If they send email as number, application will throw it away, right? We throw an error, right? So then let's do for updates. So here we will do updates for bio. Here, if you see, we didn't include bio here because it's optional. We just want the user to, we really want to collect it for the create user. Then for these updates here, if you see, we only add name and bio. There's no email here, right? There's no email here, so we don't want to change email. It's not proper to change your unique identifier address. So these are the details. So let's go to our service here. This is where we started from. So here I will change this any here to create user DTO, right? So this is it. So and here I will change this to user entity. So this is where I put the user entity, this is where I put the DTO. So what it actually means is that the information we are collecting from the application, the data type is going to be this user DTO we created, right? So let's continue. So now let's write our SQL for services. Oh my god. Now to create our user, we have to destructure the DTO, which is inside data. So we're going to destructure the name, email and password, right? You guys remember this structure? This is the structure we talked about, right? So we now need to create the SQL. So to do that, this is what I will do. I'll do results, right? So you guys remember we use pool. Now we are connected to database, then we'll now call execute. This is how we right. So what will this execute? We use this execute function to execute queries on our data on SQL, right? Bear in mind that this pool is a connection to our DB, right? So we will use this function to execute SQL query on it. So what will be the SQL query? Let's go. We'll do, let me open it down here. Insert into the same thing here, the same thing we did here, the same insert query we did. Okay, yeah, the same insert query, same format. Yeah, same formats here is what we're going to do. Well, we're not inserting into the same table, right? Insert into user, but I would like to put this inside a string template, right? Then I'll open, then the names of the columns, password, then values. Guys, pay attention to this now. Now, if you see here, I put placeholders, question marks. They are called placeholders, right? And it's actually important you do this because we are trying to insert a data into our database, and inserting data into your database is very, 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 very crucial. You need to be very cautious. Why? Because if you are not cautious, somebody can inject SQL queries into your database. It's called SQL injection, right? It's called SQL injection. Is an hacker's attack. If you don't properly sanitize the data that's coming to your database, they can insert attackers can insert SQL query into your database, and if they do that, they can be able to execute anything they want on your database with that query, right? So using these placeholders, what it will do is that any value I'm going to supply to be used in these placeholders in their place, it means that MySQL, the MySQL package that I'm using, this package is going to serialize those information before it will be able to insert it here. All right, it will serialize it, and by doing so, any SQL injection code that is maliciously sent will now be serialized, and it will be useless. It won't be an executable code. All right, so let's continue. So what values are we going to do here? We're going to do comma, then we'll put array. So what will this array be? This array is going to contain these items here we destructured from here. So we're going to put email, because email is the first column we mentioned here. So it means it's going to automatically take this first question mark. Any values that is going to be in this first question mark, then it will be, that's our email here. We'll put it here. Then the next one is name, right, which is the next column that we mentioned in this query here. Then the other one is password, right? Now we don't put, like, we don't place plain password in your database. You need to encrypt it, like sign it, encrypt it, so that in case prevention the data table gets hacked, the attackers won't know the password, because it's already hashed and stored. So why you hash it is because of that security reason, and it don't matter whether you hash it. Like when I knew that you hash password and store, I was thinking, if I hash it, if they hash it and store, what if the person is trying to log in? How is this going to be? How is the system going to identify the password? Okay, I noticed that, okay, when you hash and store, if somebody is trying to log in, when they bring the password, you still hash it and compare the two hash together. All right, you compare the password that is coming in after you've hashed it. You now compare the hash of the password that is on your database. If the two hashes are the same, then the credential is valid. But if the two hashes are different, you know that the credentials are not valid. So here I'm going to do something here with this password. I'm not going to store it directly. I'll come here. One of the packages we install is called bcrypt. So I'm going to do something like this. Hashed password. I want to hash the password. I'll wait bcrypt dot hash. Right, so I'll pass in the password. And I'll supply 10. Okay, it's like we haven't just installed bcrypt. Bcrypt is here, type is here too. Right, thought it will automatically import. Okay, import bcrypt from bcrypt. Right, so it is this hash password I will now store here. Right, guys, So now we have our query, and this is if we execute it, it will run. What next do we need to do? Let me structure out the structure the array response. This will be the result. Then user ID that is created. We insert. I call it insert results. Maybe results dot insert ID. Right. Okay. Let's do something. Insert TypeScript has been complaining. Results header. Okay. Sorry guys, let me see why this thing is. Okay. Promise iterator time promise. Oh, it's a wait that is causing problem. All right. Insert results will be insert ID. Sorry about that, guys. So this is the ID of the user that is created. So what we're doing here is that we receive our query, we receive the data that is coming in this format, our DTO format. We extract the email, the name, and password. Then we hash our password. Then when we hash our password, this is our SQL query to insert into the user. Then we supply the necessary data, the email, the name, and the hash password. Then after inserting it, I like to, whenever I insert into my queries, I like to fetch that information so that I'll be able to return it to the user. I'll do something like this dot query or execute anyone I want to do. Can still do. And guys, we can still do this here. Alright, this fetch query. So I'll do select user where ID. Guys, you guys have really tried to just almost past the time. We didn't go for break. So I will not provide the user ID. So basically what I'm doing here is that after I've created the user, because the user ID here, the user ID is the primary key, and it is if we come back to our the user ID is the primary key and it's auto incremental, meaning that the user ID is primary key and auto incremental, and meaning we don't need to provide the ID whenever we are creating the user, so the database creates it for us automatically. So anytime we create a new user, it generates the ID for us. So basically what I'm trying to do is that I want to get the ID when you run your insert query, right, you get the return response that will come to you, that will come as a response, will contain something called insert ID. So it's the ID that is automatically generated for you. So we can use it to try and refresh, get the information back from the user. Like I'm trying to fetch it here. So with that, now I can do query. Why is this? Okay. Um, Now I need to do something here. So here, if I come here, I will do extend, because to do that, my TypeScript is complaining that it doesn't understand the kind of data that is coming, that we come from. So what I will do here is raw data packet. I will import this type and extend it with this user. So TypeScript will not be complaining about this here, about that's called one red line. So when this is done, I will now return return the first element I see. So this is the created user, or I can just let me call it created user. So guys, we are good with our create endpoints, with our created service. Let's quickly write up this. Guys, are we tired? Hello guys, are we tired? Is it honestly, I forgot that we should take break today. Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
All right, all right. Honestly, I didn't know. I forgot that we should take a breather today. So okay, now let me quickly write this get user by ID. Let's do await, still using the pool dot query. So guys, basically what I am thinking now is that if we are, because of time frame, honestly I pictured 6 weeks for this program. So since we already have this code, right, the project code, I will add, what I would say is that we should go through it. If we have questions, I am readily available to attend to us. So now I'm creating the service to get user by ID. So we supply the ID, you receive the user of that ID, the user information for that ID, right? So when this is done, you can just do user equal to users. So now when you do a select, guys, pay attention please. When you do a select, right, whether you are including the where clause or not, when you do a select, it is an array of information that is coming to you, like array of array, like it is something like this, array inside array, right? There's another information here after this, but this first array here is the data that's coming from your database. So this is array of objects. So this is array of the users, of the user entity, right? So it is seen as array. So when you want to, you are fetching, you just want one, you need to get the one at the first index. It could be just array of just one, it could be only one entity that is inside the array. All right. So you just get the first element, the first entity that is in that array, right, by using the zero index, getting the one at zero index. So basically that's what we're doing here. Then here, let me change this to user. So this is done. The same thing for the email. For email, I'll just copy this logic. Then I'll use email here. Then update this email as email. So this is done. Get user by ID, get user by email. So these services, we're going to use them in the provider, in the controllers here. So let's do update user. So changes any, then changes to update DTO, right? So what do we do next? So before we update, we need to check if the user actually exists on the database. All right, so do fetch get user. Then to do that, we need to call our method that we have already defined, which is get user by ID, right? Then we'll give it the ID to fetch the user for us. Then we'll do something like update the things I want to update. These are just logic. The params, so now let's get the data. Actually is name and bio that we put out as options to update. You can only update your name and your bio. So when that is done, you can say, okay, is this which of the item that is sent? Sorry, is it name? If name is sent to be updated, we'll do update.push. We put it inside the array here, and we'll say name equal to, then we'll do params dot push. I'll put name, that's the value, right? So if we are updating name, we just put the SQL query that we used to update it. This is the normal way. If you remember, this our queries here. So then we'll put the params. The param is just like the value. Then if it is bio that is sent to be updated, do the same thing, update push then same thing, params push bio, right? Then at the end of the day, we'll put our id params dot push the id. Then oh god, see, all right, guys, so I'm preparing the SQL now to update, just like I showed us here. The query to update, this is going to create similar query here to update the SQL, to update the user. So we're going to do update user set. All right, So basically update is an array. So join, let me show you guys. So what update looks like is this. Updates is arrays that looks like this. So it contains things like this. Right, then the same thing for the bio. So once what this join updates.join will do is updates.join, what it will do is it will take them this way now, and just remove the square bracket. It will just remove the square bracket and separate them with comma. They will just be inside this one string. They will just be this way. Alright, it will transform them from here to here. So basically this SQL update will just be something like this. To be this. So basically this will translate to this, but I'm not done yet. Delimiter, then we'll put the where clause, right? Because we need to tell it the particular row to update. Then limit 1. Remember, limit 1. Limit, it will take the number. Limit 2 to just update one of the records. So this is it. So this final one now will just be the final SQL. The query maybe so this is what the final SQL will look like. This now, all right, but it depends on this name and bio. It depends on what the user want to update. It could be that the user just want to update either the name or the bio, right? So if it's just the bio, this will not be here, the name will not be here, to just be this, right? Then if it is the name, then the bio will not be here, right? The bio will not be here. So but if it is the two of them will be here. Right, so this will be the resulting SQL query. So this is the resulting SQL query. Then we need to execute the query. We'll just call the pool, call execute, and we give it the SQL query that we prepared. That will give it the params. The params is the actual values. All right, and the param is the actual value, right? It's like this. If the name if name is Chris, and then bio could be anything. All right, this is how the bio will look like. All right, then we'll have the ID. Right, the ID will be the last because we added the ID at the last here. So it will be like this. So when we supply the array here to be Chris, I am good 1, that will be here, and that's the information. So Chris we stay corresponding position, like name, Chris will be here, bio will be here, then ID will be here, take this equal sign, question mark, right? So they need to stay in their in the same order the question marks appear. So guys, basically that's the update. Then if I call await because it's a promise, then after updating, I would like to also fetch sorry fetch the updated information. I'll call it updated user. I'll do await dot this. I have I'll use this my method that's also created. I'll do user user.id. Remember we already fetched user here. Property ID here. So when this is done, we'll now return the updated user. Alright guys, this is our complete user service. So let's start using them on our controllers, right? So first things first, now this user service. If you check here in this user controller, you won't see any create controller, any controller to create a user. Just the same way here here there's create user service, right? But here there's no create user endpoint controller. Basically what it means is that there's no create user endpoints on, like, for this users module. I didn't put create user endpoints. So what I did was that I put anything to create user on authentication. To register, if you want to register, you need to if you want to register, you need to come and use the authentication, the registration authentication endpoint, right? So I will, because of that, after creating this user service, I will, okay, let me first update. Okay, they are ready. Let me now bring in update the controllers with the services that are already created. Then we'll now go to the authentication to create users. So from there we can be able to test on Postman to create users directly from our app and read from there. So first let me update this get profile because this other one is already updated. Okay. Okay. So to do that, we'll come here, we'll say to get a profile first, let's say, okay, user await dot this user service, then gets by ID because we're getting the profile with ID. Now I'll just do request ID. Now it will not work, but let me just put a number here now, because to get a profile we need somebody that has already logged in. All right, when the person logged in, you'll be able to get the profile of that person. So won't be, there's some logic I need to do here because I need to get the authenticated user, then use the ID of that authenticated user and put it here and get the user's information. That's the profile. So that's we'll leave the profile now and go to the authentication. So it's from the authentication when we sign up, log in, then we can now come back here and start getting the profile and the rest. Right guys, so for that I will now create the necessary folders for authentication module. right? This is users module, post module, comment module, then authentication module. So let's go to authentication, create controller, controllers. They're still in the authentication, create services module, then create the DTOs. I mean the DTO folders, not authentication. Then what else? Yeah, the routes. So yeah, cool. So let's start with the DTO. So we'll do auth.dto.ts. Right, so we'll do two DTOs, the for authentication, registration and login. Right, that's the data we want the front end to supply to us on login, on registration, and also on login. Right, so we'll do exports. That's name exports. Wow, if I can type correctly. Register DTO. Then email. It's almost the same thing with the create user DTO. It's the same thing, not even almost. For the register, it's same thing. Name, and then password. Okay, export. Then we'll do login.
Hello.
Yes, boss.
Hi, Christine. I have a question regarding the routes. I'm seeing two routes for the authentication and in the just I'm seeing the other route.
Here, this routes.
Yeah, that one and the one you created and the other one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the source,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just asking are they supposed to be the
Okay.
routing is it supposed to be different for authentication and for other files?
Yes. Okay. Let me explain. Yes, there are different. Right. Okay. Let me give an example now. The route to register, right, is like this: is auth register. Right. That's after the normal localhost. Okay. Let me write the full. Right. This is the route to register. I want to explain something, the stuff to you. Then this is the route to login, right? Then the route to create a post will just be posts. They are post methods, post method requests. All right. So because they are separate this way, I decided to for auth I created routes for them. For auth has its route, post has its route, the same thing users, right? So basically what it means is that in route in register in auth route, right? Sorry, in auth route, if I come here, I'll have to partition register, I will create for register and create for login. Like I will create login slash route, then put it there. Then in this other place, I will create authentication and attach anything authentication to it. So why I'm doing that now, I'm segregating all the routes so that they will have their own portion. I don't know if I'm making sense, or you did I miss the point of your question?
Mm, no, it's okay. It's just that I think I'm used to like having um routes in the same place for all
Okay,
for other.
okay, yeah, yeah. This design decision. This is how I like it. This is how I like designing my. You can have your own preference. Like you have
Oh, okay.
controllers. Um, some use the normal MVC way. You have controller in the your SRC. You have controllers, services, model, and the rest. Then everything. Then inside your controller, you have post.controller. Then inside that same controller, you have users controller, and every controller is there. It makes sense. Even my colleague likes doing like that, using that style. But me, I just prefer to use this modular style.
No, it's okay. I'm learning something new, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's continue this email. Capital email string password. Right. So the details are created. So let's create controllers that we can. So if we come to controller, now let's create our class of controller. Of course, our controller is going to use controller auth service. Okay, so to do that, just create it this way, auth service, but we haven't created anything service here, right? Okay. um, then let's create something on service. Then after we create service, we will now create our route and route our query. So yes. Okay, so now authentication is all about the user, right? Creating the user and the rest. So I will need the user service here, right? I will need the user service that I created, because the user service has the I created the methods to create users, to update users, to fetch user on the user service. So basically, because authentication is all about registering users, that's creating users, then logging in users means also fetching users and the rest. So I need the user service here. That's why I imported it in the constructor. Okay, so it means I will need it, I will use it. So now let's create the methods to register user, right? And let me draft this one also to login user, right? Now they are here. So now to register user, we need data. We're going to take data, and we'll use the data DTO, because we want the data to be Then let's specify the return type of user, or undefined. What undefined means is that the user may not, there may be issue that we happen not to create the user, like the create to register the user may not be successful. So that's why I added undefined as one of the parameters to be returned. So let's extract the data that is being sent, that is the email, the name and email and the password, from this data DTO. So collect name, email, let's destructure it out, password, right? So when that is done, I'll just call the user service, then I'll call the create user, right? And I'll pass in the name, email and password to do its thing. Now we use the create user service, the create user method from the create user service to create the user. Then I'll get the created user or the registered user from it after it has created it. Because if we check the method here, this is the method I'm calling actually from the register service. This is the method on the user service. After giving it the name, email and password, it will hash password, create the user, and after creating it, it will return the created user, right? So that's this registered user here that I'm getting. Okay, so when that is done, I will now return the registered user. Alright, so this is it. Our registered user is now done. Let me leave login now and create the routes. Right, let me create auth dot route. Okay, routes.cs. Alright, now let's import our router from Express. Okay, it's imported. Let's create our router object from the router class imported from Express. So now let's create our endpoint, our routers, our routes. I mean, post. Yes. So anything that comes as post method and to register to slash register, we're going to handle it, execute this. All right. But let's import our controller first. Let's import our controller and use. First thing, do controller auth. Okay, let me use small letter here. Now, yes, I've imported my controller. Now, auth controller. Then the method I want to use. Why is it not? Okay, let me first solve this problem. I think it's completely so. The auth controller here, if you check our class definition for the auth controller, if you check our class, okay, I use it on the service. Okay, yeah. Auth service. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. All right, let's create the method. This is auth service. Okay, yeah. This is the auth controller. let's create the register on the register method on the, guys, don't be confused, right? We have the register method on the auth controller class. At the same time, we have it on the auth service class, right? So the register method in auth controller here, this one I'm about to create, I'm going to import and use this method here on the service, right? I'll take this method, this one here, register method in auth service, and I'll import it into the controller and use it inside this register, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so bear in mind, the methods in our controllers will always take these parameters, right? Let me import it from Express because we have import. Let me import the type, request and response. So it is going to take two parameters, request and response. Okay, now we need to get the data that is coming in from the request. Now we need to typecast this data as register register DTO. Right, we typecast a register DTO so that TypeScript will know that we are actually referencing that type. So when that is done, let me do await, call the auth service here and call the register method, right, and pass it the data object. Guys, this is it. So calling it, passing it this, then let's save the registered user that it is going to send to us. Okay, now it is optional, like the registered user may be defined, maybe the registration may be successful or not. If it's successful, the registered user will have a value. If it is not, it means if this is, because here if we check this service here, oh, okay, if I import this service, sorry, yeah, this service here may return, this creation may be successful or not, right? So that's why I made the return value either promise of user or promise of undefined, right? So here now since the service also use the service, okay, yeah, from the service now, so it can either be undefined or not. So we first check if it's undefined. That's why I use this if invert of false, right? Inverse of a registered undesired. So if it is false here, if this is undefined, so it means it will be true, because this exclamation mark will invert it from false to true, right? So undefined actually means false in TypeScript or JavaScript. So if it's undefined, this exclamation mark will invert it to true. So it means I want to handle if the creation is not successful. So I will return. I want to return to the respond to the user, to the client, that's okay. I'll set status of 409, then put a message that's email already exists, because that is the most likelihood reason that user will not be the registration will not go through. So peradventure the registration goes through, this user that is being returned here, it has password objects attached to it because it's of type user here. right? It has password object. We check our entity, it has passport object. So we don't want to return password to the client, to the front end. So we'll do registered dot password user will delete it, right? This is basically deleting that property. So if the register object, let's say the register object is the register user is like this, the name, anything, then password, anything also. So delete means it will delete this password, everything, the key and the value, to delete it from the object. That's what this delete dot password does. All right. So that's said, we'll now return success here. Status of 201. Then the JSON, will be data. We put the registered user, and we message of user registered, right? Yes guys, this is done. Let's just create the routes. Let me just, so that we'll be able to demonstrate and you guys will see. Okay, here, yes, it's created. So here it's the controller is complaining it needs one argument, and the argument, if you go to the controller, the argument the controller takes is the authentication service, right? So let's import the authentication service here and initialize it and pass it to the controller. Auth service, then new auth service. Then we'll pass it to the, yeah. Now the auth service now is complaining that it needs its own arguments also. What is the argument it needs? If we go, it needs the user service class also. So if we go back to our routes, all right, we import user service also. Right, we'll pass it. Now user service is not complaining that, oh, you've initialized me, I need my own argument also. And what is the argument for user service? It's the pool connection from the database, so it needs it to connect. All right, so we just import the pool connection from database. Right, just import it here. It's imported, so just take it and give it to user, and everybody is now happy, right? So we'll now do auth controller dot register, right? So guys, this is it. The rest is ready. So let's export the router. It's important to export it, the router object. So after exporting it, let's come down here and whenever we finish with the route on any of the modules, we need to come here to the this route that is outside the module, this route folder that's outside the module. That's where we compile everything together. So you see v1 route, come here. They will now create another item, another this thing. They will now call this auth, right? We will now have to import the auth router, the auth route. Then how do we import it from the, look for it, it's in modules, go to auth, yes, this is it. Then the routes, yeah, this is it here. When we import it, now give it the proper routes, guys. So this is it. Now we are now properly routed, right? We are now properly routed. So basically what this will do is that we will access from now this v1.route.ts. This is where I used it. I brought it in here. This is the part here, routes here, all routes v1. This is the part it's imported from, right? The parts here, and I added it to API route. So I'm using it. I connected it to the API routing. So basically, what we do, how to access it is that how to access any route is that we do /API /v1. The API is this one in this one here. This API. If I call it anything, if I call it backend, if I call this change this API to backend, it means if I want to access it, I will call this backend, right? Then this v1 is this, right? Is this v1 here? Then I'll now append the auth, right? That's for this. Okay, let me change this to API. Right, for users, this one will change to, for users, this one will be users. If I want to access users, it will be users. Now, here in the auth now, if you go to our auth routes, if you check this route, this register method is pointing to register /register, right? So it means that if you come here to access the particular register endpoint, you just call register here. So and the method will be post method. Why is it post? How is it post? If you come here, if you go back to the routes, it is post because we define router.post. That's why it's post. Alright. So let's test this our endpoints. Let's test this endpoint by spinning up our postman. Okay, let me go to my shortcut and look for my postman. Alright, so my postman. Guys, it's time. Let's just test this, then we'll call it today. Then we'll now proceed on how we're going to do, because I was hoping to finish up today, but seems now guys, I'm here. Let's test our authentication endpoint. Let's add a request. Honestly, I was thinking register user. Okay, then auth. Then let's send our query to it. Email. Give it. Let's call it John Doe at proton.com. Just forge the listing. Name. Okay, John Doe now. Okay. Password. John. Password. John. Let me call the password one so that I will not forget. So guys, so let's test our endpoints. Let's test if our server is really working, right? So let me start it. npm run dev. Okay, so it's about to start. While it is starting, let's go to our database. Which database did we actually want to connect to? We'll come to our env here. The DB host is localhost. The DB user is node user. The DB name is node blog. So basically, we are connecting to this node blog, this database, right? This database. And if we check our users table, we don't have anybody here. We don't have any user here registered. So it's blank and empty. So when we register, we're going to see the newly registered user. So let's see if our app is up and running. So our app is running, server is running on port 5000. So if I come here now, we are ready to go. If I click, let's see. Oh, we got an error. Actually, we got an error. This is an error handler. We got an error, and the error is not logged. Let me see. Yeah, we got an error, and the error is not logged here. So let's debug, guys. This is our controller. This is our service. Our error handling is very poor, honestly. Let me send this again. We haven't fully configured our error handler. So let's go to where our error handler middleware, which is this. So log let's log the error. The error is even empty. Let's empty objects. Okay. Cannot read properties of auth
Hi,
service.
Christian.
Yeah. Guys, can you know
Um,
do you know where the problem is? This is
I have a I think,
yeah, go ahead, go
Stella,
ahead. So
I'm
this
saying in the postman section,
yeah.
is it supposed to be? Can you go to postman?
Sorry, come again?
Postman. Is it supposed to be in the JSON header or the raw
Okay.
part?
Here.
Yeah,
You're asking about here.
postman. Yeah, there. Where you? Is it supposed to be in the JSON in the body?
Yeah, yeah. This data I'm sending, right? It's a post request, and the
Yeah.
data I want to send is on the body. Yes, this is register. I'm sending the information, right? What we
What
send
about
in?
the
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
okay, what about the JSON dropdown?
This
Is it supposed to be sent as a raw format?
okay, okay. This yeah, this is because I want to send it. This is a JSON format, right? This is JSON. JSON is just like object, but it is if you see for objects. Okay, let me copy this. For objects, we will do something like this. Name Chris, right? But for JSON, we'll do name. You see the difference, right? You see the difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I quoted this, right? I put double quotes here. This one does not have it. So this is complaining because this is not a JSON. This file is a TypeScript file, right? That's why you are seeing this red line here. Okay, but if I do this, if I copy it and let me create a JSON file just for demo. Call it demo.json, right? If I come here and paste this, see it will not complain because it is in the right data format. So we send information um, from the from in fact we send information from request to the rest to this application in JSON formats. Okay, it's in JSON format. That's why I made it raw here and I choose JSON here. Okay, now if you come to the header here, if I do show this thing here, if you see content type is application slash JSON. So when your content type is application slash JSON, It means your data is in JSON format. You're sending data in the body as JSON format. Okay, you can have other, you can have like text, application slash text. When you do that, it means that if you come here, you will use this format text, right? And you put your, you see the highlighting is now it has gone, right? So that's how we send data to the backend.
Oh,
Okay,
okay, okay.
JSON is stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, so that is that. Then I've resolved our problem. So our, so sorry, let me delete this. Our query will now execute. It's because I didn't bind the controller to the method to the controller class. So let's go ahead and create. Okay, what's the next issue again? Cannot read properties on file. Data, where is the error coming from? Auth service. I think there's something I need to do here. Sorry guys, I forgot to do this. Do app.use express.json. Alright. Why we do this is because so that Express will handle the JSON that is coming in. You know how we send that JSON request. Express will handle it accordingly. Okay, so let's try one more time. Yeah, it's created now. So this is the user we created. Let's go to our database and run it. Yeah, this is the user. Now see the password. It is hashed, right? This is the hashing of the password. I see the created date and the updated date. See, we did not add this. We did not create this information. We did not supply this information to MySQL. It was created by default, right? Even the ID was not created. We only provided email, name, and password. So the password was hashed. The name remains the same. The email remains the same. So every other thing was created, but this bio still remain null. So we can still update it later. So guys, this is the register endpoint. I don't know. I am planning by next week. How do we do it? How do we do this, guys? I was hoping that we could have finished this project on Express today. Well, it seems like we are going to continue it next week, or then I don't know. Let me get your opinion. The next step now I want to do is to integrate Redis, then integrate Kafka. That is the next thing. Then Docker, yes, we will dockerize the application, integrate Redis and Kafka. Then that's the plan for next week. So I don't know, but we are still left behind. But I'm going to plan it. If we are able to finish, if we are able to finish it, no problem. But if we are not, then we'll just I will just bring the whole code, and instead of coding, I will explain the whole flow to us. Then after explaining the whole flow, then we'll now dockerize it, integrate Redis, then integrate Kafka into it, so that we have a proper understanding, right? But I will want us to download the code. Since we already have the code base, download it, just read through it, study it. If you can just replicate it, good, right? Replicate the code base, run it on your system. You have the front end, you have the back end, run it on your system. I'm going to update their readmes on how to set it up, like when you clone it, you install, and the rest, the values you need to update on each of them, so that the application will run, right? So when you do that, and you test it runs on your local machine, then by next week we'll now discuss it. Maybe I'll just open the code base, then we'll just be discussing. I'll tell you, okay, this code method run do this do this, then from there we can now proceed to dockerizing the system and adding Redis and Kafka, right? So I don't know if that is okay by us. If it's okay by us, we can let me know. But if it's not okay, we can profile a proper way so that we'll have a better. I just want us to understand, to learn the whole flow. So guys, I need your opinion. Hello guys. Okay, I think okay, let's call it a day. It's past 4, right? Let me see if my data network is still on. Okay, see, good. All right, guys, let's call it today. Next week, we'll round up everything. We'll round it up. Then I will introduce. We'll dockerize it and add Redis and Kafka to the system. Those technologies, they won't take time. They won't take time like the what we have here. They won't take time to integrate. So integrate it, and we'll see how everything works, right? All right. So guys, thank you very
And
much. I really appreciate your time and your patience and your perseverance to wait. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Let's call it a day. You have a lovely weekend. Enjoy yourself. If you have any question, if you're not understanding anything, if you're not understanding the code base, please reach out to me. Right? I don't mind. Reach out to me. We can go on a virtual call. I will explain to the best I
um,
can.
Christian,
Yes,
I have a
boss.
question regarding deployment.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding about deploying the application.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, or you discussed this before. About like where which platforms are going to use to deploy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. As the application is now, you can deploy it on render, right? You can deploy it on render. Um, but when we integrate Docker, when we Dockerize it and integrate some of the Redis technology and Kafka, the free plan of render, because render does not provide you a cloud server. They just give you a service that you can just deploy and they will manage everything for you, right? So you can't basically you cannot deploy some technologies on that service, right? So the proper platform is any cloud server, right? Any cloud provider, you have cloud server. That's because you need to log in, install Docker. When you install Docker, you can now use the images, the Redis image and Kafka image, then run it on the cloud server there and run your application. So you can use AWS if you have any free AWS accounts. AWS, you can use the EC2 or Lightsail. I usually use the Lightsail. It's very straightforward. Or you can use EC2 if you don't, if you like. You can deploy on droplets. I mean, DigitalOcean can deploy on DigitalOcean droplets. I don't know if you know about DigitalOcean droplet. So you can deploy on GCP as Google Cloud Provider, right? So just any cloud server. You know what cloud server is, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If you don't understand, I can explain. There's no cloud server is just a computer on the cloud, right? You log in and you just see that it's a computer, but it's you won't have you won't have all this graphical user interface. You just you can install, yeah, you can have a graphical user interface. Of course, you can install Windows. If you use Windows OS, you can install your applications there. It's just basically computers on the cloud. So you can deploy on any of them. So if you have any account that you want to deploy to, you can let me know. If you're having issues, we can deploy it together. But I think I will create an account and deploy at the end of this our course. I will deploy the whole architecture. Then we'll see how the deployment is done and how everything goes. All right. Does that answer your question, bro?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. And also maybe you could okay, like guide us in for maybe those who are not familiar quite with the cloud services
Okay.
deploying. And I know doing the configurations. I know it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
the configurations. Yeah, I've only deployed on Render and Vessel and Netlify, but and AWS not. I'm quite familiar with AWS, but haven't done application for a dynamic website. I've only hosted just a static website.
Oh, okay. 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 Don't worry. I will look for it. We will deploy our server to the. We will deploy our system to AWS. I will look for a way to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that you guys will have a feel on how it's done. All right, guys. Thank you.
Christian,
Yeah.
Christian,
Yeah.
one question. There's a code that you have uploaded on WhatsApp. Is does it include these codes?
The code. The
The code
code.
that you have uploaded for the code that you have uploaded for fronted and backend.
Yeah. Yeah. It's everything. Yes. Everything we are doing is already there. Everything. Even the
Okay,
one we are yet to do is there already.
okay,
Yeah. If you go there, you see it. The back end. Yeah. The back end. You see it there.
okay. I think all we will only need the readme so
Yeah.
that we can know how
Yes.
to.
Yes, yes, I will do that. If I didn't do it, if I didn't set it up today, because I have some after this call now, I have some work, some tasks from my job that I need to finish up. If I didn't do it today, I will do it tomorrow. So you just be patient with me. If I update the README, you guys will now update you will now deploy it on your local machine.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Is there any more question? Let's see. All right, guys. Thank you for today. Thank you for joining. We'll see next week. Stay safe. Stay good. Please. This journey is not easy, right? This is more than 5 years of experience that I have. I know I'm not perfect. I'm still learning, but we can still. I believe I can still show one or two things. So it's not easy. It doesn't come easy. So it's something we practice. It's not all about watching me do it. You need to also practicalize it, code it, right? Code, do the code, use the code I sent to you as reference, but start from your own, start from fresh. Create your own project. If it means be copying, like looking and coding, look and code, it works also because it needs you to practice, right? So if you have any challenge, reach out to me. I'll help you out to the best of my abilities, right? So thank you guys. Let's call it a day. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.